안녕하세요. 저는 석사 2기 조이다입니다. 그 다음에 영어로 발표 시작하겠습니다. 제 제목은 The Influence of Import and Export Trade on GDP, the Empirical Analysis in China. First of all, I will do some introduction of this term paper. The GDP refers to the value of all final products and services produced by companies and country in the period of time, and GDP is a core indicator of national economic, but also an important index to mineral a country's economic status. Import and export trade have relationship with economic development. Import and export trade also affect GDPs, and there are two big events of import and export trade. The first of all is the reform and opening places in 1978. Import and export trade has significant growth. And the second one is admission into WTO in 2001. This led China rapid development of import and export trade and the rapid growth of GDP. And this also related some social problems. In China, there are many food quality problems. About 10 years ago, since the work of the contaminated baby milk powder scandal, parents prefer to purchase imported milk powders. And the second one is the tax problem. In China, the average import tax is high, especially in the makeup and luxury goods. Therefore, more people choose to buy them from the overseas websites. Next is luxury reviews. In foreign countries, the Alpha P and Peter H chose data of international trade volume and GDP in development countries, and they came to the conclusion that GDP has a positive effect on export trade. Olex used the data of Portugal to do core integration test. The conclusion is that the export coefficient is bigger than 0, so export expansion has a positive effect on economic growth. And in China, Yu Xiaoling finds that import trade has a positive effect on economic, which export trade cannot using data of export-import trade in Jilin province. Obviously, this case is related to the industrial structure of Jilin province. Liu Juan chose the data from 1996 to the 2003 in China to analyze the relationship between national income and export trade. She found that variety of export could affect national income. Next is a hypothesis. And there are some basic theories. Adam Smith is the earliest human to research the influence of international trade on economic growth. If one country wants to gain from international trade, it has to product and export production which have business cost competitiveness. David Ricardo thinks that comparative advantage is the foundation of production and exchange rather than absolutely comparative. Countries could export goods which comparative advantage on country desire to exchange goods with other countries because of their different needs. Countries import products which they like and export their extra products. Hacker thinks that the reason of import and export trade is resource quantities is different in every country. In other words, the expanded demand is depending on resource quantity. After the theory of international division of labor, there are a series of residual products, trade multiplier theory, and so on. This series elaborates the relationship between import-export trade and economic growth. Next is data analysis, and first, through the table of total export and import volume, we could see that most of the export-import volume is raised except the year of 1998 and 2009 and 2015. From the 2001 China's entering of WTO, there are obvious growth of import and export volume. Through this table, we could know that the need of international trade is strong. As the development of economics, there has been considerable growth in GDP and export-import volumes. Import and export volume is influenced by both of import volumes and export volume. At 2009, import volume and export volume had fallen slightly. The reason why import and export volume had a little decline. Therefore, the next year it was rising again, and from 2001, each index have obvious upward trend. From this date, development state of our country economics was good and stable. First of all, I do the regression analysis about the data of import and export trade, total volume, and GDPs. X is export-import trade total volume, where value of Y is GDP. The value of X standard error equals to 0.1511 within a reasonable range. Coefficient of X is 2.2454. It could be known that X increase or decrease 1 unit, Y would change to 0.2454 units accordingly. X and Y evolve in same direction. Export-import trade promote increase of GDP. Next is the second hypothesis, and it can be seen in the table. The result of regression of export trade volume and GDP have strong correlation. X is export trade volume, while volume of Y is GDP. From the date of standard error, we find that fitting the grain is not very good, but it's okay. A coefficient of x is 4.1366 when x increase or decrease 1 unit, y change 4.1366 unit accordingly. X and y evolves in same direction. And in this table, x is import trade value and y is GDP. Coefficient of x is 4.8701. Compared with the outcome of export trade volume and GDP, the influence of import trade on GDP is more sensitive than the export trade volume, and x increase or decrease 1 unit, y change 4.8701 unit accordingly. Next, I do the Granger test, and from the three results, we could see all of the p-value are larger than 0.05, so the volume of import and export trade volume and export trade volume have a causality relationship with GDP. The last hypothesis. In this last picture, both export and import of primary industry were in the rising trend. Between 2008 and 2009, the import of primary industry was transitory, but it increased sharply from 2009 to 2011. After 2011, import volume of primary industry tends to be stable and decline from 2014 to 2015. On the other hand, export of primary industry was rising steadily. The rate of primary industry export in total export volume is decline. From the data of proportion of primary industry, secondary industry, and third industry, we could see the development trend of every industry in the last 20 years. Ratio of primary industry was falling trend, and the ratio of the secondary industry was stable in general. Compared with the first two items, ratio of third industry had been on the rise. If considered with data of import and export volume of primary industry products, there are some reasons caused these outcomes. First reason is that China has a big population, so the requirement of primary products is large. One reason of primary industry depressing is China population increased and demand increased. Sometimes China also need import primary products to satisfy the demand. The second reason is the demand of import primary products is rising along with higher standard of living and economic development. National need more good quality import products that lead to import volume of primary products go up, along with development of science and technologies. There are increased demand of export and processed products, and labor price in China is lower than other developed countries, so the proportion of secondary industry is on the increase. finally is the conclusion. From the analysis of this paper, import and export trade has a correlation with GDP, and after China joined into WTO, not only import and export volume but also the GDP both rose quickly. The import and export trade promote the growth of GDP, and with the increase of international trade and the deepening of economic globalization, the industry structure also got some influence from it. In order to get great development of GDP in the future, we should realize the importance of import and export trade. An import trade and export trade could promote economic growth if government could do some export reform and provide some support for the export enterprise. Export enterprise could get better development environment. Also, export enterprise should enhance their competitive at the international market. Recent years, as the globalizing of the world, our countries start doing trade with Africa and Latin America, but the main export market for our country is still Hong Kong, Japan, and America. Export enterprises should maintain the current business market while explore new market opportunities for expanding market. For the import market, as the expansion of trade surplus RMB get more appreciation pressures, so our country should encourage import trade. And the important point of import trade is that the service and products should satisfy the condition of national demand. And China is a developing country which is weak in industry foundation and international competitive. If mishandle the opening degree of international market, it may cause a destructive impact for the enterprise. That's the reason why government pay attention to the development of enterprise while does a good job in international relations. Okay, thank you for watching.